Hello and welcome to the MAC weather page for this Tuesday, November 15th. And you can see if we look at the headlines over the next coming days, we got a very significant storm we're going to watch for the end of the week. For today, it looks like some clouds mixed with some sunshine. The coolest temperatures will be towards Newaygo with more clouds, and southeast lower Michigan could get up around 60 degrees. But the big story we're going to watch is a late week storm that could bring a very significant snowstorm to the areas from the Rockies into the Dakotas into Minnesota. For us, we'll be on the warm side of this storm with high temperatures into the 60s for Thursday and Friday with mainly dry conditions. Again, the most adverse effect from this system weather-wise will be off to our northwest. But then we're going to watch in the cold air later next week a clipper system dropping down out of the Dakotas could bring some accumulating snow to parts of the MAC area. Right now the best bet would be across central and north central lower Michigan into the UP, but again, we'll keep an eye on that system as well. Plenty of time for that. If we look at the conditions around the area yesterday, you can see temperatures mainly in the mid-50s to around 60. The warm spot at Clarksville at 60 degrees. The cold spot down in southeast lower Michigan at Blissfield, where it got down to freezing. If we look at the next slide, you can see from Whitehall, Illinois, this is the Maria Cox farm, and this photo was taken by her grain cart operator. Very cool picture, again, over the weekend. If we look at the normals of the day, our normal high is 47, the normal low is 29, and with our low temperatures this morning, again in the mid-30s around 40, quite a bit above normal. If we look at conditions around the area this morning, you can see temperatures mainly in the mid and upper 30s, even some low 40s. And again, looks like a pretty decent day with temperatures climbing into the 50s, back above normal. And we're running about 11.5 degrees per day above normal so far for the first part of November, so pretty warm start. If we look at the satellite view this morning, you can see our next weather maker coming out of the Dakotas heading towards Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the Great Lakes region. Again, this is a pretty weak system running into high pressure, so we expect mainly some light showers to affect the areas, mainly around Muskegon, the Saginaw, off to the north, but again, mainly trace amounts, I think, for the MAC area, with maybe a tenth or so as you get into northern lower Michigan back into the UP, but this will be a pretty weak system. If we look at the weather map this morning, you can see low pressure system that will be moving across the Great Lakes and bring some of that showers to the area, especially for late in the day, again, mainly off to our north. And then by tomorrow, that low pressure system will be off to the east of near Lake Huron. A cold front will be moving through the area. This won't bring much in the way of cold air at all, as that'll remain bottled up into Canada for now. And we're going to begin to see a lot of energy on Wednesday begin to come out of the Rockies, and we expect a couple of areas to form a pretty good low pressure system around Colorado, and that's going to move off to the northeast. And as we put the map into motion for Thursday morning, you can see that low pressure really getting its act organized, and it's going to move up towards the UP, and behind that in the northwest sector it's going to be a pretty good area of snow that will develop again from the Rockies into especially parts of South Dakota, into north central Minnesota to northeast Minnesota. Again, they could see over a foot of snow here in the coming days, so a pretty significant weather maker. And then behind that, cold air will filter into the Great Lakes. We could see some snow showers over the weekend, but again, no big deal. But again, later next week we're going to watch a clipper system that could bring snow to the area. If we look at the high temperatures on Friday, expected to be in the mid-60s, but this will also be the case on Thursday as well. So very warm conditions Thursday and Friday across the area with plenty of sunshine. And if we look at the precipitation from this next big storm for the late week, you can see most of that's going to be well off into the upper Midwest. Here for much of the MAC area, mainly under a quarter of an inch of rain. In many areas it'll be well under a tenth of an inch. If we look at the next slide, you can see the storm expected to move up, and some of the snowfall amounts you can see up to 1.5 feet, even 20 inches of snow. Again, these numbers may be a little high, but certainly we could see over a foot of snow in some of the heavier banding that takes place with that first system. Meanwhile, we sit here in the 60s just for some fantastic weather across the Great Lakes. And as far as the second system we're looking at, this is that clipper system. It's supposed to take a track basically out of Wisconsin towards the northern Ohio Valley, and that should bring a swath of pretty good snows, at least a couple of inches. You can see some of the amounts up around 6-7 inches of snow. That may be a little high, but again, it's something we're going to want to keep an eye on. We could certainly at least see a couple of inches of snow out of that. And again, future models will certainly follow here over the coming days. This is a Canadian model, and we're getting good agreement also with the European. In fact, the European would have this snowfall line just a little bit farther south, so much of the area may see some accumulating snow at that time. If we look at the big picture, you can see over the next 10 days, lots of snow expected to move out of the northern plains again into the upper Midwest. And then our second system, you can see that originates up in Alberta. It's going to be dropping down into the Great Lakes here over the next week or so. So it's going to look more like winter. And again, that slide we showed here earlier, this is the area of snowfall we expect to really begin to pile up over the next 10 days. And that's going to be the roadmap that'll take that colder air out of Canada right into the Great Lakes as we get into the first part of December. Right now, again, December looks like it's going to be a cold and stormy month as we see a big ridge begin to develop with cold air up to the north and a strong jet stream cutting underneath, and that could bring a lot of active storms across the country here for the month of December. If we look at the 6 to 10 day outlook, you can see that area that we're watching as far as colder temperatures with the trough developing over the east. That may moderate as we get to the 8 to 14 day period, but then I think more cold air comes in after that. As far as precipitation, it shows it being fairly dry. Again, we'll have to keep an eye on this because I do think we're going to get a little bit more active here in the coming weeks. Thanks for stopping by and have yourself a great day, and 73s to all.